Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Good times. Now, speaking of good times, because we're moving on to sort of like the second part of Chris's like list of OK Cupid answers, and we are doing his opinions in regarding to sex. And I can only imagine he answered a lot more than these than anyone has really any right to answer stuff like this. But let's hear him out. Let's see what he's got to say. Not that I'm particularly seeing much out of this, but there you go. I prefer to sleep with, embracing, cuddling my partner, touching my partner, with my partner, but apart, not touching, alone. I suppose, but I don't particularly think their partner would have wanted this every night. I mean, why is it important for Chris? And why would Chris not think his partner would just want some time just to sleep by themselves in peace in the comfort of their own bed? Just because they sleep together doesn't mean they have to be intimate all the time. You're in a relationship / marriage and you feel that you and your mate aren't having sex frequently enough. Oh boy, what do you do? Talk to them about it? That's kind of nice. Cheat on them, break up with them, I suppose he would want to rule out, but doesn't mean to say Chris wouldn't do that if given the chance. Try to spice things up. I'm not sure that's a good idea either. Do nothing but hope things change naturally. I don't know. If you really think it's a problem, then I suppose talking about it, but it would have to come down to Chris's definition of what frequently having sex means to Chris. Is it like a week, 2 weeks, a month? How willing would you be to try out new things sexually with a partner? Completely willing, somewhat willing, not at all willing. Well, again, Chris ruling this part out means to say that he would have to, his partner would have to be at least slightly on board, but not, I'm not too sure about where these are like heading, because I'm pretty sure I've got a good idea. Straight women who kiss or fondle each other in clubs in the hopes of attracting men are, Chris puts down, incredibly hot, just having some girlish fun, profoundly annoying. So Chris admitting, he gets aroused by lesbianism. I meant to sort of like say just doing it to men. I'm not too sure, Chris. Well, how would you feel if your partner asked you to get tested for STDs before having sex with you for the first time? Positive, neutral, negative? I would be a bit annoyed at this as well, but you know what? In the spirit of fairness, I would ask if both of us would do it. Just, because that seems more fair. You're in a romantic relationship with someone you really like. As far as you're concerned, how long will it take before you'll have sex? 1 to 2 dates. Well, that basically, I think that alone should just about tell you everything you need to know when Chris comes to his maturity in regarding to sex, by just, in out as soon as possible. Even 3 to 5. Chris would not think, to wait longer than 6. It means basically, if you are to get with Chris, you better get ready to, get your knickers down as fast as possible as far as Chris is concerned, which is as horrible as it sounds, because it is. I would honestly wait until we were actually ready to, seriously do it. Possibly even longer after we just got married. How important is it that a partner be capable of intelligent intercourse? Somewhat important. Well, again, this would have to come down to what Chris's understanding of intelligent intercourse really is. Might you consider dating someone who confided you to that he or she had a sexually transmitted disease? Well, I can't disagree with Chris there, but there you are. But why would he want to, or at least expect the idea that his partner, respected may be, would possibly consider saying yes anyway? I would rather say get them treated for it at the end of the day, or practice safe sex. And ideally, how often would you have sex? 3 to 4 times per week, and he would also highlight every day. And this would highlight almost immediately why that other question of, why you wouldn't be getting sex frequently enough. Because Chris's idea of 3 to 4 times per week, that's about jeez, that's like, oh God, let me think about this. That's like over 20 times in a month. Jesus Christ, Chris, you're going to be exhausted, or you could be giving birth to octuplets almost every 9 months if you did that. Control your urges, young man. Because, again, she might get exhausted after the first or second time in the matter of days. That's a ridiculous thing to say. I would have it less than once per week. Or, if you actually feel like you and your partner would want it, basically, think of your partner is what I'm saying almost in effect to all of these. But, how open are you to trying new things in bed? Not at all, Chris would rule out. Hesitant, but might. I'm open, but I don't get too crazy. Well, again, considering what we've learned from Chris and his approach to being crazy, I think it's fair to say that, well, he might do something that might involve somebody getting hurt. Possibly. If he was thinking about doing that pile driver maneuver, he's going to break somebody's neck if he does that. Do you like to cuddle? No. Sometimes it depends. Again, Chris having to put this one out in particular says that Chris wants, intimacy more often than he wants, a new set of Legos. Is contraception morally wrong? Chris rules out no, and, well, honestly, again, I'd say no. Depends on the kind. Kind of interesting as well. Would you need to sleep with someone before you considered marrying them? Yes, because Chris needs to figure out if the hole is the right fit for him, possibly. If he was going to spend the rest of their life, putting himself into a hole, which he kind of is, but not the kind of hole I suspect he would want to be in. And also, again, he rules out no, meaning that it's a requirement on his list of demands that you have to have sex before you marry each other. Which best represents your opinion of same-sex relationships? Girl on girl is okay, but guy on guy is wrong. Motherfucker, of course he would say that. So, no, you can't necessarily say Chris is pro-LGBT at any other point, because I'm pretty sure his stance has absolutely not changed since this. But he would also want his partner to say, it's all fine by me. Faith and religion. Okay, this is going to be funny. Are you Christian? Yes. Should evolution and creationism be taught side by side in public schools? Yes, students should hear both sides. I think that's actually quite fair enough for Chris. But Chris would rule out both. But I could see why. I could see why he would say this and no to these two, because, you can't really have. You can't, even in most, Catholic schools in the United Kingdom would teach both anyway. Would you ever change your religion or adopt one because your significant other wanted you to? Let's see. Well, actually, here's something quite interesting. Would I or not? I'm not too sure about that, because I'm kind of already confirmed into the Roman Catholic Church anyway, since I was about, 13. That's kind of interesting. Well, it's not so much depending on what the other religion might have been. It could have been I don't think particularly that matters, because then again, if we both worship God, whether or not it was Allah, whether or not it was the Christian God, I don't think they would have, either one of them would have wanted to see us miserable anyway and not be together if we loved each other. So I don't think it would have made much difference anyway, because that's well, I'm kind of I'm on the same page kind of with Chris on this. That's something I gotta admit. Would you date an atheist? However, Chris would immediately say no. Right, okay. Not too sure why not. I mean, if I'm going to, I'm going to be the one mature about this and say that you can believe in whatever you would like as long as, you're not hurting anyone, or, you get the idea. It's being mature and respectful. How important is religion/God in your life? Extremely important. Then again, Chris hasn't worked out the idea that, maybe the idea of, hating people for orientation or race or ruling them out is a bad idea, but that's besides the point. Life and death. How do you feel about kids? Kids are precious, they love me and I love them. I know, turn of phrasing, but then again, this is Chris we're talking about. They're okay, but keep the unruly ones at bay. Thank goodness he didn't say this one. God, how revolting. I don't know why they would have asked this. I'm indifferent. I'm kind of okay with Chris, ruling this one out, because that doesn't seem like a particularly one to begin with anyway. I mean, even, kids, even people who are in relationships where they don't want any children, they don't hate kids, they just don't want any of their own. Not that doesn't mean to say that they don't hate them. If your best friend began talking of suicide and asked you not to tell anyone, would you be willing to honor their request? Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I would. I haven't spoken to a soul, because I've had friends before where they were hinting at this sort of thing, and I've never ever once told another soul about it, and I intend to. And obviously I'm not going to disclose any names, because I've had a lot of people who've talked to me about this. Yes, but I do my best to talk them out of it. Well, I suppose that's kind of strange. Again, he would rule this one out. It's their life to do as they see fit, which that is very true as well. It's their life and they should be able to do what they want with it. Because you may argue that me talking to them might make no difference whatsoever. But then again, if they really were my friends, then I should be able to, step in and help them in any which way. So just hear them out and suggest something, at least anything, just to try and talk about why more than anything. What is most appealing? Settling down with a family someday, a life of singledom, living spontaneously and in the moment. I don't know why. I think it's fair to say, well, unfortunately, because Chris is so unappealing is why he's lived a life of singledom, because of goodness of so many other reasons besides. When a woman chooses to abort a pregnancy, should she be required to inform the father? It says no. At least all I'm going to say about this one is about there are plenty of factors involved. Although I've said this before, but it should be down to her decision if the father in any which way wants to be involved in any which way. If it comes to having children, would you prefer to adopt or to be one of the biological parents? I would rather be one of the biological parents. He would rule out any one of these because he wants his children to be his own, from his his own flesh and blood. Which I can understand why, but I'm not entirely sure why he would want to rule any of these out. Because, well, it insinuates that Chris only wants his wife to pick this option as well anyway. When is suicide okay? Never. Always in special cases such as to prevent suffering. I'm not entirely sure, again, why they would ask this question. Because I don't know why they would ask that, actually, because whether or not I suppose you could say that they have similar stances on certain topics, but I think that's on a dating website. I'm not entirely sure what exactly. If Would the world be a better place if people with low IQs were not allowed to reproduce? Chris says no, but why would he want to rule out? Well, no. I can understand exactly why Chris would say no, because, it's a human right to reproduce. But why would he want to rule out that option anyway? Because I'm not saying anything, about Chris's IQ or anything like that, but Chris should have to think about why he would say no. That's another thing. I brought this up in the last part, is that why would they... He needs to elaborate and explain why, is what I'm saying. Not that I'm saying that, people with low IQ can't reproduce. I'm not saying anything of the kind, because like I said, it's a human right. But Chris would have to explain his case as well. To you, is abortion an option in case of an unwanted accidental pregnancy? And I'm not even going to touch on that either, because I've explained this before, and it's just not really something I should get involve myself into. If you had to name your greatest motivation in life thus far, what would it be? Well, ruling out wealth, love, expression, knowledge. I'm surprised Chris wouldn't want to go for, let's say, expression, because as the writer of a comic book, I suppose he would say his form of expression is unique. Well, I suppose not all of it, considering the she came for quick.jpg image. Are you happy with your life? Again, that's a very... I suppose if Chris really is happy, then I suppose he wouldn't want to consider no, but is he happy with it all the time? Even when this was written? Most of the time. That's quite interesting why he would say that. Are you looking for a partner to have children with? Yes, he says. Why he, again... It sort of more fits into his sort of overall presentation of what he wants his wife to be anyway, so... like I said, someone to rock a cradle. Would you ever consider adopting a child or being artificially inseminated on your own if you gave up on finding a life partner? Yes, I'd keep... No, I wouldn't do it. Why? What exactly is wrong with adoption anyway? I mean, you're giving a child a home. It's giving them a stable environment. I mean, doesn't that seem like a bad thing? I mean, I'm not saying Chris thinks that adoption is a bad thing, but if he really wanted a daughter or a child, then why not? It seems like if he wanted to start a family and both of them couldn't reproduce, then because it could be that the woman may not be able to reproduce or fertilize eggs, and Chris might have very insufficient sperm. So why exactly could they not is something I just wanted to ask. If you were to die, would whoever goes through your personal belongings be shocked by what they find? I mean, that I can't really disagree again with what Chris says here. Hygiene. Oh boy. How important is it to you that your partners smell good? Important-ish. Wow, okay, right. So, again, Chris sort of placing the standards quite high again, because I'd say the more, just the normal approach is that I'd say less important than you might think. That's what I would say, because unless it's something that really sort of becomes prevalent, then maybe that might be a different breakup, for bad or for worse, or good or for bad. Does finding a long-term partner give you license to let yourself go, lower your standards of personal hygiene? I'd say absolutely no way. No, I want to make sure I hang on to him or her. That technically doesn't say that Chris would stay in shape or present himself for his girlfriend in any which way. Yes, I preen only to attract a mate. I have lower standards in the first place. Well, at least Chris is ruling that out. At least I'd say he has some self-respect, but we all know that Chris's hygiene is, in a word, less than ideal, considering his circumstances of where he lives. How frequently do you bathe or shower? Usually daily. I skip some days or weeks. How often do you brush your teeth? I do mine at least 3 times a day. I don't just do it once. That's absurd. And of course he would rule... Why would he highlight only on days I feel like it and just rule this one out? Vices and virtues. Do you ever feel like the need to get really drunk? Rarely. I would put it almost... I would say rarely as well. Because, guys, remember... It's been 38 days and since I've been sober. I've not had a drink since. And you know what? I still have to emphasize how much better my life is because of this anyway. How often do you smoke cigarettes? Never. Well, fair enough. Neither do I. Do you consider yourself to be an honourable person? Apparently, well, I'm assuming because he didn't, he wouldn't answer to this one. Chris obviously doesn't want to date someone like Eddie Guerrero anyway. God rest his soul. That was real Latino heat. Sometimes it depends on the situation. I would honestly think Chris, if there was an option saying sometimes it depends on what I consider honourable. Because he's honourable to his PS3 and damning the trolls and, making himself look clearer to the world. Are you careful with your money? No. How often are you too open with your feelings? I mean, Chris does this quite a lot anyway, so... Again, why he would want to rule these out anyway? It makes... Chris wants... By Chris's definition of positive, he means someone who is really receptive to... being as honest and as truthful as he is, and he won't stand for anything less. Does smoking disgust you? Yes. Guys, I've had friends, many friends in my past who've smoked cigarettes, but you know what? Again, it's their life. I'll let them get on with it. It's not my business to tell them whether they can or cannot, or whether I find it disgusting at all. I mean, there'll be some habits that I do that other people might find disgusting. Rate your self-confidence. Average. Well, I'd say Chris's brazenness is probably very high, but not that he's, had any problems with confidence in answering all of these. What's your deal with harder drugs? Not marijuana. I never do drugs. Well, at least Chris is being honest with that one. Do you keep yourself a budget of your finances? Sometimes. No, I don't think he does. How often do you keep your promises? Again, there isn't an article for never. He just puts in when convenient. So, yeah, that looks a little bit. One sec. Anyway, let's continue. Are you vegan or vegetarian? No. Well, at least being honest. Fair enough. Do you space out or daydream a lot? Chris saying. Well, ruling out all the time when we all know which one it is. MISC. Do you enjoy finding out what makes things work the way they do? I'm an information sponge. Well, I would say more or less sometimes, because if you were hard pressed to tell him how like a car engine worked, I'm pretty sure he would draw a blank. Without using a dictionary or other tool, can you choose the commonly misspelled word? Don't cheat if it's okay if you don't know. Definite, set committee, not sure, dumb question, who cares? Definite, it didn't stop him from, the 5 miles from Station Square mistake. Didn't stop him there. Do you think women have an obligation to keep their legs shaved? No, guys, I would rather go out with Bigfoot than somebody who, had, smooth as hell legs and, was completely shallow underneath. You know what I'm saying? Do you have a problem with racist jokes? Not entirely sure, well, Chris, I absolutely would have a problem with it. So, why would Chris rule out yes? That's just like saying that. Chris, you just... If for nothing else, you've just showed yourself up right there by doing that. Like, you cannot be stupid, Chris. Think about this for 1 second. Do you like to read, able to read to aloud only when I'm sick? I'd say you have to be in some way sick for this. Do you and your ideal significant other enjoy making sarcastic jokes at other people's expense? Knowing that it's all in good fun sometimes, but not too much. Well, not entirely sure why he would rule out everything else. I can't dish it out, but I take it, I guess. Well, we all know why Chris can't rule it out, because it would be a blow. It would be a massive blow to his ego if someone even slightly poked fun at his shortcomings. Would you prefer good things happened or interesting things? Interesting. I'd say good, because, you know, to benefit. Okay, whatever. What is your quest to find true love? I don't know why, ladies and gentlemen, but I just knew, without even thinking it, that he would say that. To find your fortune, to find happiness. And, you know, for someone who watches Monty Python a lot, so he claims, he would rule out the last one. Chris, that's a disappointing thing. You disappoint me, Chris. In more ways than one. How often do you meditate? Rarely. Well, really never, to be honest. Which is worse, starving children or abused animals? Equally bad, completely agree there. How much influence or control do your parents have over your life? I always do what my well, no, not really. I almost always do what my parents think is best. You mean stealing from your parents, Chris, or freeloading from them? Don't lie, we know that's what you do. When birds stand on power lines and don't get hurt, it's most likely because of bonding materials that are insulated from current. Well, what parts of a bird are insulated, Chris? Because I know that's not true. Good timing, they only land between calls. They not touching anything else at the same time. They do get hurt, they just express it poorly. Honestly, because I'm not entirely sure myself, because I think it might be possibly this. I think he's actually kind of right in this one, possibly. I generally don't know that. If you don't do anything at all for an entire day, how does it make you feel? Bad? Well, good for you, Chris. Just make us, unless he's spending his day making jokes at the expense of minority groups. Stale is to steal, as 89475 is to on honor roll. What? I'm glad that gives you the link to honor roll, but that should be 475. But not that I think that makes any difference anyway. I don't even know what technically this means anyway. Which of these is likely to make you more nervous? A promising first date, an important interview. Well, we all know Chris isn't intending to get any interview time done any which way, so fair enough. What is next in this series? 1, 4, 10, 19, 31. Okay, so add 3, add 4, add... Okay, so, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that is 4. Hang on, let's see. So 9, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. That would be 46. Okay, got it. Gender roles are, as he puts it, are undergoing a refreshing redefinition. Well, are irrelevant, outdated, and unnecessary. Exist for a good reason, should not be That's actually kind of an interesting one as well, because I sort of like... I could see points to all of these exist for a good reason. I.e., if you are a lesbian, you would be attracted to a woman would be attracted to another woman. I think that's. I mean, I'd imagine they would be there because it makes things easier to understand for certain people. At any rate, undergoing a refreshing redefinition. I'm not entirely sure because on the one hand, you could say that I could call myself a lesbian by that definition, but then again, well, that's really sort of like the problem there is that you could say, well, gay is just means, being body positive, or, you just are open to other types of the other sexes and all that, because, yeah, I'm not entirely sure I would. That is, well, that depends on how you do it, so, possibly, are irrelevant, outdated, and unnecessary. That again is also, I'd imagine, especially if you were like, say, anogamous or something like somebody who doesn't like, gender, stereotyping or roles, I suppose. I could see points to all of these, but probably less to the one that Chris actually gives, because possibly more to confusion than anything else. What is your backup plan if you can't find a date on a Friday night? Call up someone, go see a movie, self-improvement, go to the gym, or read a little. Well, come on, Chris, we know that's not what you do. Drinking alone, it's probably more likely that's what he does. Are you an aspiring actor, artist, writer, or any other creative type? Well, yes, of sorts. Do you genuinely smile at little kids who cross your path? Not entirely sure if you really should have answered that one, Chris. I'm just being honest. Which is bigger? Well, there you are. Fair. Obesity. Fair enough. To you, which adjective describes hopeless, unrequited love? Romantic, foolish, creepy. Unrequited love, I think, is more. I'd say more tragic than romantic. Certainly more tragic than foolish. Unless, somebody kept pursuing somebody who quite frankly says no anyway. And creepy only because, well, how they do it. So I'd still say tragic, but it would depend, on a circumstance. So that's just me, and just being, a fan of, plays like, Shakespeare and stuff like that anyway. So, fair enough. So, okay, I think that's going to technically do it for the Chris C. Sonichu section, where next time we'll move on to the Level Up King profile, because I'm going to have to move this again, because this is how much we've actually done in this video. That is how much there is. I mean, look at how much we've got left to go through. Ready? Yeah, so at least with this one, there's a little bit more we can talk about, because there's an actual explanation section, so we'll be able to see what Chris's opinions are, because I think for the most, these are different ones as well, so to hundreds of questions. Jesus, so that might take a while, but I'm determined to get to the bottom of this. I'll see you guys again very, very shortly. In a bit, boys. In a bit.